What if the future of horse sport is not defined by Olympic medals, extravagant facilities, or million-dollar horses, but by something far simpler and far more important: care? Right now, in Germany, a quiet but powerful shift is taking place, one that could fundamentally change how we think about horse welfare in dressage and beyond. Instead of rewarding only competitive success, Germany's National Equestrian Federation is recognizing stables for something very different: how well they care for their horses. This initiative, known as the Stable of the Year competition, is not about prestige, luxury, or appearance. It is about something much deeper. It is about what happens behind the scenes every single day when no one is watching. And that is exactly why this matters. Because for decades, the equestrian world has focused heavily on performances. Scores, rankings, breeding value, and international success have dominated the conversation. But in that pursuit, one crucial question has often been overlooked: what kind of life are these horses actually living? Germany's answer is both simple and profound. They are shifting the focus back to the horse, not as an athlete, not as an investment, but as a living being with fundamental needs. The competition evaluates stables based on what experts call species-appropriate husbandry. In full terms, that means creating an environment that respects the natural behavior, biology, and psychological needs of the horse. It includes providing regular turnout, opportunities for social interaction with other horses, access to fresh air and natural light, and consistent, thoughtful health management. At first glance, this might sound obvious. Of course horses need turnout. Of course they need social contact. But the reality is far more complicated, especially at higher levels of sport. In many competitive environments, horses spend a significant portion of their day in stalls. Turnout may be limited, social interaction can be restricted due to management concerns, and routines are often designed around training efficacy, not necessarily the horse's natural instincts. This is where Germany's approach becomes so important. By rewarding stables that prioritize these basic needs, the Federation is sending a clear message. Welfare is not optional. It is not secondary. It is the foundation of everything. And perhaps most importantly, they are redefining what excellence looks like. Traditionally, excellence in horse sport has been associated with results, high scores, championships, and elite performance. But this initiative challenges that definition. It suggests that the true excellence begins long before the horse enters the arena. It begins in the stable, in the field, in the daily routines that shape the horse's physical and mental well-being. The structure of the competition reflects this seriousness. Stables are not judged based on appearance or marketing. Instead, they go through a multi-stage evaluation process. First, they submit detailed applications explaining their management philosophy. Then, judges review visual materials, including photos and virtual tours. Finally, selected finalists receive in-person inspections from experts who assess the actual living conditions of the horses. This level of scrutiny ensures that the award is not about image, it is about reality. And when you look at the winning stables, the message becomes even clearer. For example, one of the recent winners provided horses with up to 10 hours of daily turnout and exercise. That is not just a luxury. It is a recognition of the horse's need to move, graze, and interact naturally. Another winning stable was praised not for extravagance, but for combining practical infrastructure with genuine care and expertise. These are not flashy innovations. They are not revolutionary technologies. They are quiet, simply the fundamentals done right. And that is precisely why this matters so much. Because in today's equestrian world, the fundamentals are often where the biggest gaps exist. In recent years, public scrutiny of horse sport has intensified. Controversies surrounding training methods, welfare practices, and ethical standards have sparked global debates. Terms like Rollkur, concerns about overtraining, and questions about horse management have moved from niche discussions into mainstream awareness. People are asking harder questions than ever before. Are horses getting enough turnout? Are they living natural, fulfilling lives? Are we prioritizing performance at the expense of welfare? Germany's initiative does not just respond to these questions, it helps answer them. It provides a concrete, measurable standard for what good welfare actually looks like. It moves the conversation away from vague ideals and toward practical, observable practices. And perhaps most importantly, it creates accountability. When welfare becomes something that is recognized, rewarded, and publicly celebrated, it changes behavior. It encourages other stables to reflect on their own practices. It raises expectations across the industry, and it sends a message to riders, owners, and spectators alike. This is what responsible horse care should look like. But the significance goes even further, because this is not just about Germany. This is about the future of equestrian sport as a whole. The social license of horse sport, the public's acceptance of its existence, depends increasingly on welfare standards. If the industry cannot demonstrate that horses are being treated ethically and humanely, it risks losing public trust. And without that trust, the future of the sport becomes uncertain. That is why initiatives like this are so important. They are not just awards, they are signals of change. They represent a shift in value, a movement towards a more sustainable, ethical, and transparent approach to working with horses. They remind us that success should not come at the expense of the animal. They challenge us to rethink our priorities, and they ask a simple but powerful question. What does it really mean to care for a horse? At its core, this story is not about competition. It is not about Germany versus other nations. It is about a broader realization that it is beginning to take hold across the equestrian world. That the horse is not just a partner in sport, but a life in our care. And that deserves more than performance. It deserves dignity, it deserves respect, and above all, it deserves a way of living that aligns with what the horse truly is. Because at the end of the day, before the arenas, before the judges, before the applause, there is the stable, there is the field, there is the quiet, everyday reality of horses' lives. And that is where the future of horse welfare will be decided. So the question is not whether this matters. The question is whether the rest of the world is ready to follow.